And joining us now to discuss this latest incident and the rising wave of anti-Semitism in the United States and around the world is Hen Mazzig, Senior Fellow at the Tel Aviv Institute. Hen, let's start with this latest incident. I mean, we heard from authorities that the motive was not clear, that it was not certain that this was an anti-Semitic attack. And yet the gunman chose a synagogue, not a church, not a mosque. I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, it was absolutely anti-Semitic, and I think that the fact that President Joe Biden even condemned this attack as anti-Semitic attack and said that they would stand against it, that America will stand against it, is clear enough. We don't even have to mention the fact that he was fighting to release his sister, that is a convicted terrorist, that actually refused to have Jews on her trial jury because she claimed that they were Zionist Jews. And another important thing to remember: this comes a month after the Council of American Islamic Affair Care executive was saying that Zionist synagogues are not the friends of the Muslim community. So to see all of this unraveling is really a clear sign that this is anti-Semitic, and this is coming from specifically people that are trying to harm the Jewish community and drive a wedge between Muslims and Jews in America.
Now, I mean, you took to social media in a very passionate video post and said that you already know how this is all going to play out because we've seen it happen many times before in Poway, in Pittsburgh. I mean, what did you mean by this? Can you elaborate?
I released my video because I was in pain, and I was in pain because I know exactly how these things happen and how this story usually happens. And the first thing that I thought about when I heard about the news was that this is going to end up like Pittsburgh in 2018, and my heart was broken, and I was in tears all night long. I really couldn't. I mean, the fact that Jews have to bleed for the world to care about us is so heartbreaking. And what I know is that, you know, people around the world will share a hashtag, they will say that it's terrible, they will stand against hate, and then next week they will forget about it. And the same type of hate speech that we saw that led to this attack and leading to so many attacks against our communities around the world is going to continue. And it's just so heartbreaking that Jews are being captured in a synagogue, in our temples, in our sanctuaries, and being murdered there. And it's year on year, and it doesn't stop. And I think that the biggest fear of all Jews in the diaspora is that we know that this might be us next. And we know that next time it can be our synagogue, it can be our Jewish day school, it can be our sanctuaries and our community centers. And that's why we need security at the end of the day. But it shouldn't be this way. And unfortunately, I don't think we'll ever be safe.
So, I mean, let's talk about this, the anti-Semitism in the United States and around the world, right? We've seen a drastic rise in recent years. Synagogues, schools, as you mentioned, under guard. I mean, how did we get here in 2022?
I think that Jews everywhere really believe that the rest of the world don't really care about if we live or die. And I think that's the biggest problem. We feel like the world doesn't care if our children are afraid to step outside, if our synagogues need armed security, as you mentioned, outside. And I think we are exhausted trying to convince people to stand with us and to support us. And it's continuously, we are being disappointed, and we're feeling like instead of taking anti-Semitism seriously, even the appointment of Deborah Lipstadt as the envoy to fight anti-Semitism has been delayed because of American politics. We're seeing it around the world that instead of really taking anti-Semitism seriously, governments and leaders and public leaders and the media is often turning a blind eye to this phenomena, to the rise of anti-Semitism. In London alone, you had 500% uptick in recent May of anti-Semitic hate crimes. And in America, the #1 most targeted group for religious motivated hate crimes is the Jewish community. So I'm really exhausted, and I feel like we are all exhausted in trying to convince people that anti-Semitism is real and that anti-Semitism charges blood from us, and we just don't want to die anymore. That's basically what we're asking for.
All right, Hen Mazzig, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you.
ILTV Plus, your news from Israel and more 24/7. Start your free trial today. Subscribe at ILTV.tv and watch from any device.